This is the 21.5 Show.
You're on 121.5, the emergency frequency.
Whether you're a professional pilot or want to be one, you're in the right place.
Let's get started.
Join professional aviators Dylan and Max as they talk their experience in the airlines, business aviation, and more.
Life is good.
Industry experts, unique stories, and plenty of fun. This is the 21.5 Show.
Here we go.
All right, Dylan, welcome back to another episode of the 21.5 Professional Pilots Podcast.
Is it the Professional Pilots Podcast or the PJ?
Don't even start.
Okay.
No, I will not want us to associate with any sort of nonsense.
Okay. Hello, Max. It's great to see you.
Always. Today,
A Diamond Dog.
we got in the studio. Timothy P. Pope, our friend, sponsor, and advisor to me.
Certified financial planner. Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
There you
I'm
go.
also a customer now.
Okay. I love it.
Listen, this new contract, market-based cash balance plans, and we have things called Top Hat and all of this stuff. It takes some very specialized to really maximize your strategy when you're a part of a very complex airline. As we say, a lot of buckets, Dylan. There's a lot of money, a lot of buckets to put it in. You got to figure out what buckets go where, what the timing of the buckets is.
It's kind of like when you have a leak in your roof, and then you've got to
exactly what it's like. It's just like now it's raining harder, and you're just running around with buckets trying to catch
this one. No, this one. Oh, his college fund.
Wait,
what about
this?
this?
Get full. You don't want to lose it to the carpet.
Where's the HSA bucket?
Yeah. So many things. Anyway, there's only one man that really can break it down, make sense of it all.
Absolutely. Tim has lots of knowledge. And here's what's so cool about Tim. And I don't know if there's any other financial advisors are doing this. He is in there in the weeds reading the pilot contracts.
Oh, I say he literally gets excited about.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, can you send me that? I'm really looking forward to reading that." And so I'm like, "Thank God there are people like you, Tim." So right. I think I've said this before. You do what you do.
Yeah.
And let other people do what they do. And I think you're going to understand after listening to this what Timothy P. Pope does.
All right. Let's jump right into it. Max, we are so excited to be joined again by our friend and certified financial planner, Timothy P. Pope, and new podcast host.
Recreational pilot, all the things.
He's everything, Tim. How do you find time? And I hear you have more than one child also. How do you have time for all this?
Thanks, guys. Good to be back. And planning, that's the key.
That is the key. That's right. Financial planning, of course, is what we'll be talking to you about today. Tim, I think Max invited you on the show today because he just wanted to gloat a little bit about this new contract at Southwest, but he didn't want
to believe that, dude. I did not do that. This was Tim's idea.
No,
I did not.
You just wanted to rub it into me, and you're like, let's have Tim explain it.
If I would have said, Tim, let's just do a lifetime earnings projection of a corporate pilot in a
Tim, Southwest has signed a new contract. Have you taken a look at it yet? What are your thoughts? Go ahead and lay it on me. I'm ready.
Well, yeah, I mean, congratulations to Max and his brethren over there at Southwest, right? Good things come to those who wait and fight long and hard. There's a lot to like about the new Southwest contract. Let's start with cash first and foremost. At implementation, we're talking about a 30% increase in rate, so 29.15. And you add on top of that a ratification bonus. So we're doing all of this in Q1 of 2024. That's a lot of cash. It's early in the year. I would expect a lot of Southwest pilots to be pushed in a different tax bracket, right? So we break that down, just the ratification bonus of itself. We're talking 23% of earnings in 2023, 14% of their earnings in 2022, 5.6 for the previous year, that'd be 2021, and then 1.5% for the last 4 months of 2020. So you can see, you know what pilots make if they've got time on them at all. You can see how quickly that's going to be in the six figures for a ratification bonus.
Listeners will remember that we talked to you in the fall about that retro check and how to be smart about it. Is there any advantage to, I mean, you're saying it's coming out in Q1 of 2024, so now you actually have a little bit more time to do some planning about what you're going to do with it, right?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the conversation in the fall about that, where I almost fell out of my seat because one of my clients was tinkering around with the tax elections. The way that Southwest, and the way I understand it, that Southwest is doing it, is the ratification bonus is going to be taxed as ordinary income, right? So unlike a bonus, which that's probably, so bonuses are typically taxed at the 22% level, right? So then if that were to happen, you'd have this gap, right? So I'm getting maybe a 6-figure ratification bonus, plus my pay's going up 30%, and I'm all in Q1. Now I've got to figure out how to, what to save and what to be ready to give the IRS at the end of the tax year. With it being taxed as ordinary income, it may be closer to what the pilot tax rate is going to be. So what I suggest is folks, maybe at the end of the first quarter, but no later than June 30, so the end of the year, take a look at your last pay stub, see what you've earned, see what you've paid in taxes, and then project the rest, and then figure out the difference. Then we can massage the W-4 so there's not this huge overpayment or this huge underpayment, right? We like to be as pretty close as we can. These dollars are coming to us on a W-2. And on a W-2, you don't have the flexibility that you have in other places of the tax code, so that's tough. But this is really an awareness thing for the pilot, is that, you're getting this ratification bonus. Chances are you're probably going to have to pay some on top of what was withheld. So don't spend it all in one place.
On one boat.
February 20th can be a big day.
Is that when everybody gets it?
It all hits on the 20th.
We should do like a live broadcast from like the side-by-side dealership. Wouldn't that be funny? Just the direct wires.
It is so funny. That's such a bad idea to just drop an extra 6 figures into a pilot's checking account, because it's just most pilots.
Oh man. So if you're going to
deserve it.
Yeah. Wow. So besides the monster check, Tim, what else have you seen?
Well, I would say that just like we talked about in the fall, right? This is an opportunity for folks who feel like they're behind on their planning to catch up. And so, you guys know me, I'm all about, working hard and then enjoying the fruits of your labors as well. And so when you think about, hey, I'm getting this ratification bonus, if you've been feeling behind, great. Here's an opportunity to catch yourself up to speed. If you're already up to speed, okay, that's excellent. That's just gravy. But make the plan first before we start spending the dollars. So that's what I'll say about that. What else we've been seeing is that Southwest is moving up in terms of their retirement contribution. So at implementation, right, we're going to be at 17% non-elective contribution. So you show up, you stay healthy, you fly the airplane, the company is going to put 17% of the money into your 401k, and then 18% in 2026. And then also Southwest is getting a market-based cash balance plan, like we've seen, just kind of sweep across the majors this last contract cycle.
And for those of us that are not familiar with that, that's kind of like a bucket you can sweep stuff into that overflows your 401k?
Yeah. So with the 401k, we have limits, right? So in 2024, the most that we can put in the 401k is $69,000. So if you're under 50, you're putting in $23,000, your company's putting in the rest. And then what typically happens is with that 17%, it's like, hey, we've got these dollars that we've got nowhere to put them. So now the pilots current day get that as cash, right? And so with the market-based cash balance plan, that'll be another avenue to just move that money over into another qualified bucket where it can grow for them, until retirement. The difference that Southwest has that the other carriers don't is that they are getting an additional 1% in the market-based cash balance plan, company money, okay? And then in 2026, that's going to be 2%. So guys can show up, getting 19 to 20%. in terms of retirement money without having made contributed $1 to their own 401k.
Wow.
Crazy, huh?
Okay.
What a world.
What a world. So, Tim, it's weird. Like, we're seeing these contracts be signed, and kind of Southwest is sort of, I would say, what looks like on the tail end of all these contracts at the majors. But then we're also sort of seeing signs of maybe some slowdown and some other things. So it's weird that it's lagging a little bit. Are there some ways that you're advising your clients to like maybe prepare for, I don't want to say a downturn, but maybe a reduction in the acceleration of things for a little while? Or like, what kind of thoughts do you have about that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, with these kind of numbers, right, it makes, because a lot of times, you feel under the press. I got to save for retirement. I got to save, I got to get in there. I got to max out the 401k, so on and so forth. With these kind of numbers, 19 to 20%, on day one of being saved in retirement for you, I like to get clients to save 25%, right? So they can replace all of their current, their current expenses. So what this can do, to your point, Dylan, about a slowdown preparing for turbulent times, is you can take time to get your own house in order, okay? And you can feel really good about that because you're not missing a beat. The company is still paying, 17% plus one. I think I've been saying 19%. I've been meaning 18%. 18% between the 401k and the cash balance plan. I just talked to a guy the other day at Southwest. Consumer credit, right, is kind of out of control. Okay. And I said, look, man, with these kind of contributions, you take the next 12 months, you can take the next 12 to 24 months, pay all that stuff down. You're still going to be rocking and rolling. And then you come back, right? You're going to be in a better spot. You're going to have more flexibility. And then you can start, chiming into the retirement stuff. So whether that's paying off credit card debt, whether that's establishing the emergency fund, whether that's putting money in just a regular brokerage account to give yourself time and flexibility. Matter of fact, guys, we did some collaboration. We did a little piece together on my new show, the Pilot Money Podcast, will be airing on the 19th of February, right? So, and we talk about that. And you guys bring up some excellent points about how to navigate turbulent times. And so this just makes it easier because your retirement stuff is happening in the background, even if you have to redirect your own firepower.
Yeah, that's a good point. So when you look at kind of your professional clients right now, your pilot clients, is there a common concern or a common question that you're having to deal with some of these new contracts or anything? Is there like a common thread that you're seeing people have to deal with?
Well, yeah. I mean, running out of places to put money.
It's so ridiculous.
Like, where should we do it? Where should we save? That's one. And then the other is, hey, when should I switch over from traditional to Roth or Roth to traditional? Like that conversation. And I'll say this, not everybody's scenario is the same, right? So some folks are married dual income and both spouses are doing well, and maybe, high income earners. So you've got to factor that in for yourself. Some folks are married single income. Some folks are single, right? And then they have all of the burden of responsibility. And so figuring out, Roth versus traditional, cleaning up some old accounts so they can actually do backdoor Roths, because with the advent of the market-based cash balance plan, and we can talk about that for a minute, what that is, that's going to be pre-tax dollars. You add that with the company's 17 or 18%, that kind of thing. That's going to ultimately be a ticking tax time bomb for clients, because that's a lot of pre-tax dollars. It's really funny because in the old days, pilots went to work and they got a pension, right? Company took care of everything. And then that went, and I'd be really curious to see the actuarial studies, because while we're moving the other way, I would think about it like a string that then makes a circle. Are we getting really close to where we started, where the company just took care of everything, and now we're getting so much, company paid into the 401k and the market-based cash balance plan? I'd hate for pilots to think that, hey, I don't need to do anything. The company's just taking care of it all.
Yeah, I guess in this case, at least you control the 401k. So when things change, like it's still under your control. But yeah, I mean, is it Max, do you think like this contribution, is that low-hanging fruit in a concessionary contract later on down the road? Like, I'm just wondering if you could just be like, you know what, the company's, to Tim's point, is just going to take care of me. Like, I'm going to have to barely contribute at all, but is that like going to be the first to go? It's just the numbers are
who
so
knows?
high.
Nobody knows. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's certainly a massive cost to the company, right? But you would have to think if it's some sort of concessionary thing, it's going to be an aggregate of
things
chipping away at multiple.
It's just so much higher than any other, right, Tim? Am I wrong to say that this amount of contribution is above and beyond any other profession? Really,
like what is it? Do you know? Is there what's the average company? And then even then it's a match or something, right? But what's the upper limits of an average 401k contribution? I mean, I don't know if you have the definitive numbers, but even if not, what would just be your guess?
Yeah, no, I don't have the definitive numbers, but I will say when I was in corporate America working for a large financial institution, we were getting 10% non-elective. That's pretty good.
That's good.
10%.
Really good.
Yeah, and that was on top of a match. So if I did up to, I can't remember if it was 4 or 6%, they would match that. And then you would get a non-elective of 10%. That's great. If you listen to episode 2 with Kit Darby on the Pilot Money podcast, he talks about it. He's been doing this for, looking at compensation for a long time. And he describes pilot 401k non-elective contributions as, a company contribution that's 3, 4, 5 times what the average is on a salary that's 3, 4, 5 times what the average salary is, like the median salary in America. So it is quite a huge multiple.
Yeah. And that's why it's so much more important, I think, to bring in a professional to help you with that, because it's so much more significant. Yeah.
It's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah. He's big. What else you got for us, Tim? Any other takeaways from the Southwest deal?
Well, so just a quick refresh to the listeners about the market-based cash balance plan. If they haven't been paying attention, as we said, it's going to be separate from the 401k. It's money that they're going to get 1% and up to 2%. The company company contributions are going to be paid in. They cannot directly control contributions into the market-based cash balance plan. But what they can do is they can meter how much the company is putting in by adjusting their own 401k contributions up and down, right? Because that spill cash, that 17%, hey, if there's still room in the 401k and we haven't hit the 69,000 yet, then nothing goes into the market-based cash balance plan. When the 401k gets full, then it's going to spill over into the market-based cash plan. So you do have some control there. Particularly if you're concerned about it, going to the pre-tax side, because in the 401k, you can convert those dollars, into Roth, if that makes sense for you. The other thing to note is you're not going to have control over the investment. It is going to be invested fairly conservatively at a 40% stock, 60% bond target. And so, I do hear a lot of folks griping about that, about, hey, it's so conservative. And, but when it comes time to make a distribution, the company has to make you whole. And so you're not able to lose money, if you will, in the market-based cash balance plan.
Yeah. But isn't it true, though, in the event of bankruptcy, those funds could be subject to being captured?
No.
Unlike in a 401k?
No. So that, yes, I'm glad you asked that. So the market-based cash balance plan is going to have the same creditor protection as your 401k. Some of the other non-qualified plans like you guys have at Southwest, those in the event of a bankruptcy could be at risk. And that's kind of the...
Like profit sharing and stuff?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so that is kind of one of the earmarks of qualified versus non-qualified. The non-qual is going to be at risk versus the qualified.
Well, and the other thing that I think that's funny, when I've had this discussion just in the cockpit with people, and they get all worked up about the fact that, but I don't get to choose, my investments and stuff. I'm like, dude, the market-based cash balance plan is dwarfed in comparison by your 401k, so you can just adjust the risk in your 401k as an aggregate, to offset whatever lack of risk that or whatever your thoughts are on the market-based cash balance plan. You just put that into the whole bucket and then adjust the risk that you can accordingly, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. So you would consider, hey, The market-based cash balance plan is going to be my conservative money. And then when you're looking at your overall asset allocation, you adjust for that.
Yeah. So I'm like, you're really not locked in because it's not your only
Yeah.
bucket. Like you have a bigger bucket over here that you have control over.
All right, I'm jealous. Fine. You guys win. Fine.
Listen,
All right.
you just got to figure out the key as a corporate pilot is you got to figure out how to get private shares as part of your comp plan.
Oh, okay.
We have a
Yeah,
friend.
man, you gotta
We have a friend who
Get that little
figured
private
out
share
how to
deal.
get that genie out of the bottle, and he ended up doing pretty good.
Yeah.
He made his lifetime 401k as an airline pilot, but
Yeah.
pretty quick. So
We need to figure that out. Gonna need to figure that one out.
well, there's another thing I guess that I think that was very important to me, and one of the main reasons I went to the airlines is the disability stuff too. And I'm not sure how that works into the planning, Tim. I'd be interested to know how you do that, but our disability was very lagging if you look at the top 5 and where they were, and especially where they went to. And we leapfrogged from there to really good, exceeded my expectations. And because the loss of license and disability, it wasn't great. You weren't set. You weren't, now, obviously you're not going to be making the same money that you can, which is what's crazy, because if say you've been at Southwest for a long time and you have a big sick bank, which a lot of very senior people do, you can take the percentage that replaces your income on disability, and then you can meter that sick in there to bring you back up to 100 trips a month or whatever you were flying until you run out of that. And we're talking people have, it caps at 1,600 trips. And I've flown with a lot of people that have 1,600. That's hundreds of thousands of dollars that's just sitting there. That's able to be tapped. So they can basically, if you go out on disability and you're close enough to retire, you really won't lose any money. And you keep your 401k all the non-elective contributions, and you can go get another job. And like at Delta, if you, in that scenario, and you go and you decide you're going to work at Home Depot, they will reduce your benefit based on what you have to report your income. There's no reduction in benefit. You could go, then be the CEO of Southwest and, or whatever.
Oh,
and
wow.
still keep the same benefit. So for those things were huge. And as far as, I think Tim's job and us as pilots, if you're trying to plan for the unexpected, which is essentially what financial planning is, right? You don't know. You have to make assumptions based on, I think it takes some of the variability out of how far the pendulum can swing, which is a big deal. Once you get older and you see other people that are your age that are starting to lose their medical and stuff, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah. Well, the disability is huge, right? Because you guys are now getting, so your 12 months monthly base earnings, right? You're getting 50% of that to FAA required retirement, right? So out to age 65. And then there's no cap at the 50%. So I believe previously you guys had a cap.
Yeah.
But now
It
there's
was
no
12,000 a month, I think was the previous cap. So
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So if you if you go knock it out of the park, right, and you fly a lot, and then something happens that locks you in, to your point, Max, that there is no offset. I think the majority of folks that go on disability leave, they come back, right? It's
Sure.
It's a much smaller amount of folks that are just going to be out until retirement age. But let's say that you are one of those folks that are out. You can't be a pilot, and that's the other thing is the definition of disability is loss of your medical, which is obviously that's what you want. But let's say you go out on an extended thing, and then maybe you pick up something just to, you can't fly, but just to, so you can get out of the house. To Max's point, you don't have to reduce your income. The other thing, there's also no Social Security offset. Now, that being said, Social Security disability income is pretty onerous to qualify for. So if you're on that, your career as a pilot is probably over.
Yeah.
Because that's a pretty big deal. But then that's thinking about, your spouse, right? And your children and things of that nature. So when you think about disability, you guys also get it's not quite a COLA, like a cost of living adjustment, but you do get every 5 years, your disability income is going to increase by 5%. So that's better than nothing, particularly if something happens to you and you still have some time in the game. So
I just want to pause for just a second and just appreciate, like, Tim is becoming an airline pilot contract expert.
I know.
And like from the couple of years we met you, it's just amazing how much you have had to absorb of this industry, and it's really impressive. So I want to
that would be exhausting, dude. I have a hard enough time with one contract.
You got to keep track of everybody's It's amazing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, this is what we do. We love it. And to your point, I mean, I had a client send me a message the other day saying like, "Hey, this is what's going on in my family. Do I have union benefits? Do I have company benefits to cover me for this?" Right? Like, and you expect your advisor to be up to speed on that, to know quickly, or have a file where I can go, okay, you're this, and then boom, here's what you could expect, right? Because when things hit the fan, your focus a lot of times is just taking care of the business at hand, and you want somebody on your team that's already spooled up, that knows, your contract, and knows what you could expect. So, there's some other changes about elimination periods, like for disability, nice and simple, 60 days kind of thing for you guys. But I think, Max, you made it. Now, here's where I scratch my head and I'm like, okay, like, good job on the negotiators, but this is really interesting. And the actuaries must say that not many people are going to go all the way out to retirement. But here's the thing. Your disability benefit is the 50% of your monthly base earnings, but your retirement contribution is still going to be on 100%.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah. So,
wow.
and then there was a bit in there where you guys could still accrue vacation. I'm like,
you still accrue vacation. And then so that 6 weeks, I mean, dude, it's sometimes I shake my head. I'm like, no way.
How did they get all that in there?
And then they kicked in an $800,000 life insurance policy too, just because.
Just take it.
But of course, everybody's all worked up about the imputed income that you have to pay on it.
Oh,
they're like, they could have paid for that. I'm like, dude, no, they can't. Like, that's the IRS, dude. Like, you can't. There are limits here, bro.
I'm voting no. I'm a no vote.
Well, it's just, but there's always people. Yeah, there's always people that
Doesn't
whether you
matter.
vote or whatever your reasons are. It's it's just like voting for the president. It's your decision. You do what you want. But it's just funny. I'm like, at least understand. Like, at least.
Yeah. Well, but here's the thing. Because as you get older, the imputed income is going to get more, right? It's going to increase. You have the option. You can bring down that 800,000 to a lower number and have lower imputed if you want, and if it makes sense for your family circumstances. Yeah. When you mentioned the 800,000 on life insurance, when you guys go out on disability, that's going to go with you. And so that's actually pretty good.
That's huge.
And I'm excited about that because, let's say somebody, God forbid, gets cancer, right? And they're out on disability. Maybe it's terminal. Number one, I hope they've done the due diligence to figure out what they actually needed. But at that point, it's way too late to go around shopping for life insurance.
But that's how
right?
it was before. You would lose your policy when you would, and it's like, what's
the point?
Yeah. The higher likelihood of you dying was not from getting hit by a car, tragic death. It's from terminal illness. So it was kind of was head shaking.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a point to where like 800,000 is a great start. As you progress through the seniority, you're probably looking and saying, hey, is this enough? Right. And maybe you have something independently, right, where the premiums are going to be level, because, with the other insurances that you have with the plan, those can go with you, but, you're going to need to prove your health and so on and so forth. And so, if you're on disability, that's not the time you want to be proving your health.
Yeah. And then there's exclusions too, like, where ours, it's if you fly your own airplane, like in my case, there's no exclusion for that. And there's certain things that, there's a lot that goes into it, but
it's good to be at SWA.
Yeah. There's a lot to like here. There's a lot to like with this contract.
I just imagine Tim going through these and just like rolling his eyes. And this too? Come on, you guys. Don't you have enough? Relax.
He's just saying, God, what is it going to cost for me to fly to?
Yeah, right. Yeah, the ticket prices are going up. That's what that means.
When are they going to single pilot?
Yeah, jeez. Must be. Any other takeaways, Tim, before we let you go?
No, I think that we covered the high points on this. Obviously, if pilots have questions, the Swap has great resources in terms of podcasts. I'm happy to help walk through. Hey, what does this mean for me and my family? These new benefits. So schedule an appointment. We can chat.
Yeah, Swap does a really good job of telling you and explaining what these benefits are. So then you have all this stuff on the table, and you're like, okay, like what? So what do I do with all this?
Yeah.
Like, how do I, like to your point, the life insurance, like taking the life insurance of $800,000 and paying that imputed income till you're 65, it probably doesn't make sense when you're, and so there's decisions to make with all of this stuff that is where Tim comes
That's what
in.
Tim does.
That's what he does.
Pilot contract master Tim.
That's right. What was the guy that you guys used to have or you used to play? The guy who did GA, let he do what he did.
They do what he do.
Oh, that's
all
right.
flapped out up in this thing.
What? Oh, do we still have?
What was his name, dude?
Oh man, I haven't seen him recently. We got
Donovan. Wasn't it Donovan?
Yes,
somebody?
Yes. We're gonna have to look him. That's Tim.
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
I must say, Max, I think that you would make a great YouTuber. My kids loved your YouTube personations. I think I could see it now. It's like, because you're a history buff too. So like Southwest U.S. history by air, with Maxwell Palmer, man. I think you could get some follows on
It's
that.
just a problem I lack, Tim, is something they call motivation. I just can't. I can't with the video. It's just Big Earn, dude. Flying with Big Earn. I've flown with Big Earn.
Okay.
And what's funny is his hangar is like three
right
down from mine at the small airport. And it's just all of it, it's exhausting.
Recording.
And it's impressive. Like I don't have this sucks all my wind to do this, let alone the video concept.
You got the airplane,
the video
you got the
content.
GoPro.
Yeah.
Did you see us, Tim, on social media where I took Dylan to the gravesite of the first Apache sheep herder in the Pleasant Valley Wars?
No, I heard. I listened to the episode. I didn't watch it.
You didn't miss anything.
That's what I'm saying, man. You got this.
Made Dylan
you're
trudge
halfway
through
there.
a muddy field.
What's up, guys? Max here, guys. Oh man, the YouTuber.
Yeah.
That's my 8-year-old is an aspiring.
My
YouTuber
biggest
too,
fear is
so.
that anybody mistakes those for me actually trying to be a
Be
YouTuber.
serious. Yeah, that's the problem.
And doesn't see that I'm just making fun of the YouTubers my kids all watch.
Oh my goodness.
All right. Well, he is Timothy P. Pope, financial planner for professional pilots around the globe, or at least in the United States. I don't know. Can you take any international clients, Tim?
There's a few. It's kind of weird. It's like Hong Kong, Mexico.
Like our FedEx guy.
Yeah.
Don't we have a buddy from college who's a FedEx guy, but he lives in Cologne?
Yeah. Are you up on the Cathay Pacific contract? Are you following that one? What's going on with
what about Air India's new
SpiceJet's got a very
yes,
lucrative.
SpiceJet's really done
All right. And
Aeroflot's got to negotiate the pay rates on the Tupolev 214 now.
Yeah.
And the IL 96-400. Are you up on that at all, Tim?
That's funny.
The intricacies of operating the Tumansky turbofan really demands some pilot compensation.
Tim, the Pilot Money podcast is awesome. I tuned in the other day and listened to an episode. Oh, you wanted to ask Tim about his music choice, though. I remember.
Oh yeah, Tim. I was like, when I heard when I listened to the first episode, I was like, Tim, he's got a little bit of the West Coast rap influence there. I appreciated that.
It was kind of like that.
It was kind of like that. Maybe it's more. Oops. No, it wasn't one like that, but it was the same vibe. And I was like, yeah.
I was nodding my head.
I was nodding my head. I was getting into it.
You like that?
Yeah, kudos.
Yeah. Well, thanks, man. I picked a track and asked the editor to help me out. And
that's exactly
what we came up with.
Whatever you vibe with.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, this is good.
Yeah. Well, we're excited to make our appearance on the show next week and enjoy tuning in. So good work there. And Tim, until next time, we'll talk to you soon.
Hey, guys, always a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
All right, man. See you, Tim.
See you, Tim. Well, congratulations, Max. You and Tim made me very jealous that I'm not a Southwest Airlines pilot right now.
Well, I'll call you for my overnight in
El Paso.
San Jose El Paso or Midland. Actually, San Jose is quite good now, quite high on my list. I've identified some very hot Asian dining locations.
Do you guys still stay up by is it Milpitas?
We stay in Milpitas, 2 locations in Milpitas. Yes.
And is there that Asian market that's across the street?
Oh, yes, the Asian. Well, it's a whole Asian shopping center.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, the anchor tenant is the market with like,
You
all
can go in
kinds
there,
of live fish.
Fish,
Oh, I
yeah.
FaceTime my kids in there. They loved it. And but yeah, you can get Taiwanese hot pot here, and like I found this great sushi place. They fly the fish in from Japan. It's the whole thing.
Jeez.
Because they have direct service to Japan too,
Oh,
so
yeah,
it's
yeah.
very, very fresh. And then I went there and I walked down there, and there's this Vietnamese place in the Portland airport, and we were there for lunch, and I brought my lunch, and I'm like, oh, I love the Vietnamese place though. It's gotten like really expensive, and I was like, I have my lunch and whatever.
Yeah.
And then the captain strolls in with this big Vietnamese. I'm like, how did he even know? And then so I walked up to the sushi place, and then there was this Vietnamese place right there, and I couldn't get off so I last minute pivot.
You have to have flexibility.
That's right. It's the key to a
packing
pleasurable
meals.
dining experience and air power.
That's right.
So who would have thought? Anyway, Tim, the grandmaster of financial information.
Yeah.
There you have it. What else is there to say?
There's one
He's
last
the
thing
man.
to say. Quit screwing around. Give Tim a call. And like you said, go do what you do best and let Tim do what he does best.
Period.
That's right.
We'll see you next time.
Okay. We'll be
it.
back in a week.
That's all there is to say.
All right. Just remember, folks, flexibility
You say it.
is the key to air
I
power.
always say it. You say it.
Okay.
All right. See you next time.
Bye.
The statements made in this show are our own opinions and do not reflect, nor were they under any direction from any of our employers.